Trump country, and I don't see that changing.
Mitch McConnell seems to be jamming through the hearings on Amy Coney Barrett.
One of the reasons the left is losing their minds right now, they feel their hammerlock on the court is in danger.
And as they go across the stripe, a photo finish! Denny Hamlin gets the nod by 23 one-thousandths of a second.
23 one-thousandths of a second. The Statue of Liberty. I went by in the ferry, but I never stopped there. But I saw it on Superman.
Released from Walter Reed Hospital today, sometime today, Brian. That was good news.
I know it's good news, but I would hate to think he's rushing out today. Just stay at the Walter Reed. It looks nicer than almost.
Democrats. He said rushing.
From what I've seen, you could be productive there.
Russia.
It would be terrible to go and have to go back again.
The doctors would not let him leave, though, if they didn't think it was the right measure, right?
Right.
Liberals is a dog whistle to the Russians.
There's one that says the president could be out as early as today. But my feeling is be safe. If you're worried about the markets would hate for you to go back and forth there.
Yeah, the worry is if he returns too early, it could lead to a second trip to Walter Reed. And Walter Reed is where Jillian Turner is standing by late.
He gets out today.
On the president's condition. So, Jillian, you've got the perfect spot, because if he were to exit that hospital right behind you, you would. He had a drive-by yesterday, and so any idea what time, if he is released, that would happen?
We don't know a time yet, Brian, Ainsley, and Steve. So overnight, the president's medical team did not confirm when exactly he's going to be discharged from the hospital here, but they said yesterday that it could come as soon as today, with the big caveat that that would only happen if his symptoms continue on what they were describing over the weekend as an upward trajectory. Now, meanwhile, the patient-in-chief himself, posting on Twitter yesterday, sounded pretty reflective. Take a listen.
It's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Mr. President.
School. And I get it, and I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it.
You're like Peter Parker now.
The White House says the president continued working throughout the day.
You're a superhero.
We know he got a briefing from his national security team in the afternoon. He then surprised his supporters who were gathered outside the hospital with a drive-by, including a presidential wave and a thumbs up to show his appreciation. The president, though, did generate instant criticism for exposing himself to Secret Service agents while still highly reportedly contagious. The White House, though, pushed back on that criticism last night. They said appropriate precautions were taken in the execution of this movement to protect the president and all those supporting it.
That was CNN.
McEnany told us that getting back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is a top priority for the president himself. According to the medical team, though, it sounds like the president's still in the middle of what is a pretty hefty drug regimen. Take a listen.
We continue to plan to use a 5-day course of remdesivir. In response to transient low oxygen levels, we did initiate dexamethasone therapy, and he received his first dose of that yesterday, and our plan is to continue that for the time being.
The team disclosed these details yesterday after admitting to misstating the reality of the president's condition earlier over the weekend on Saturday. Now, the campaign trail, as you guys know, must go on. So Vice President Pence is getting back out there this week while the president is convalescing here. He's building up to the debate on Wednesday, a rally Thursday. Joe Biden also getting back out there. He's heading to Florida today. We know both of them did test positive.
He's going to come back.
Both tested negative. Yes.
He's going to come back stronger than ever.
That's exactly right. Jillian, before you go, at the beginning of your live report, I heard somebody honking, and yesterday there were so many supporters honking. Is the honking going on day and night? Because if I were the president with that going on out on the street, I might have trouble sleeping with all the honking.
Well, I have been here since about 3 a.m. this morning, Steve, so I can speak to that. I have not heard honking like that so far. It has been pretty quiet. Folks are starting to gather just behind me. So far, supporters, right before this live shot, actually, I peeked around the corner, counted 3 of them. So we're expecting that probably more will show up throughout today.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much for a live report from Bethesda, Maryland.
There was a lot of honking though yesterday when the president went out there just to do a thumbs up and wave to the crowd from inside the car with his windows up. So doctors say that he did have 2 episodes of the transient drops in oxygen levels. He hasn't had a fever since Friday morning. His cardiac, kidney, and liver functions are all normal and no signs of shortness of breath. He's been seen walking around the White House
Praise the
medical unit
Lord.
there at Walter Reed. And
Good
Dr.
news.
Sapphire was on our show earlier, and here she is talking about why it's reasonable for President Trump to go back home to the White House.
He's gonna beat the
Everything's
COVID.
being heavily scrutinized right now. You know, to have someone go home from the hospital with COVID-19, they really look for not having a spike in fever and not requiring oxygen for over 48 hours, as well as having the blood work trending in the right way, and all of which the physicians are saying is happening for President Trump. So I don't think it's unreasonable for him to potentially go back to the White House. And let's remember, he has 24-hour care at the White House, so it's not like he's just going back against the wolves and no one's going to be paying attention to him or monitoring him.
They do have a medical facility there at the White House, as Joe Concha was talking about earlier. And then Dr. Sapphire also was talking about that drug, dexamethasone, that he's on because of the lower oxygen levels. She said it was a steroid and supplies antibodies to help fight the virus and sometimes can make you actually feel better than you were when you were healthy before you were diagnosed, Brian.
Right, so you got the steroid, the issue, you have to worry about the oxygenation issue, you also have to worry about the fever if it goes up or not.
Looking pretty
for the
good.
next 7 days. My sense is if he was stuck in an ICU and he felt as though he was needed to be able to do the work of the people and did not want to give the power to the vice president, I could see it. But being that Walter Reed's facility is everything he needs, have the doctors ready to go in a situation that they're most comfortable with, there's no reason to speed it up. I mean, he's able to run the business of the country. Yesterday he had his national security briefing at about 4 o'clock. He's able to give these videos on a regular basis. Everyone's talking to him. It seems like Rudy Giuliani, his attorney, had a chance to talk to him. Obviously, Mark Meadows is meeting with him regularly. Just doesn't seem reasonable to rush out of there. As Marco Rubio tweeted out, a significant increase in conspiracy theories and outrageous claims since the president's diagnosis lies spread much faster than fact-checking. This is why we need frequent, detailed, and transparent updates, because the divergence of facts between Mark Meadows and the doctors created a wide opening for conspiracy theories to go wild over the weekend, and hopefully they'll be on the same page this weekend. In fact, here's the media using the opportunity to slam the president.
The president here is, to a certain extent, putting these Secret Service agents who are driving him and who are in the vehicle with him at some degree of higher risk.
Being in a vehicle with Secret Service agents would potentially expose them. Yet that's precisely what we saw just a few hours ago.
Of course they're gonna say something like this is kooks.
This joyride to visit supporters who've been gathered along Rockville Pike just behind me.
Well, now they call it a joyride.
The president got cleared to do that for Walter Reed, and I believe
It's got negative connotations.
all those reporters, although I'm not sure if they do have a medical background. And add to that, the drive-by did affect, Steve, the futures, because after the president drove by, the futures went up, and maybe this morning they were holding steady.
There you have
I
it.
think everybody is buoyed by the fact that the president of the United States is doing better.
Exactly.
It's interesting, though. It was not just the media criticizing that drive around. There's an attending physician at Walter Reed by the name of Dr. James Phillips. He put out a statement. He said, "This is insanity. Every single person in the vehicle during that unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days." But you got to put yourself in the shoes of the Secret Service agents, and that's what we did when we invited Dan Bongino on about 40 minutes ago. And he had this observation about the men and women who protect the president.
We go out and we protect the President of the United States, and the President of the United States gets to act like the President of the United States without having to worry about us because we signed on to take the worry for him. Listen to me. Someone was getting in that car or that helicopter and closing that door and protecting the President of the United States, infected or not. Someone was going to do it. And these guys and the women of the Secret Service are the ones that had the nerve to do it. Because you know nothing about these men or women, why they do what they do, how they wound up in that car, why they did it, and they do it again tomorrow.
That's a job.
Exactly.
That's their job.
And the president's team okayed that, and the president's team ultimately will decide when he can be released from the hospital. But it's interesting, you know, that video he took and released yesterday, one of the things he said was, I have learned a lot about COVID. I get it. I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it. So you wonder what that means. Does that mean his, obviously his perspective on it has changed? Has his tone changed? I saw Mark Thiessen yesterday on the channel, and he was talking about, you know, going forward, President Trump has got other things he can talk about regarding COVID because he's now had COVID. Ainsley, he'll be able to say, you know, thanks to Operation Warp Speed actually saved my life because of these pharmaceuticals that he was able to take and the regimen of drugs, which his administration fast-tracked so that the millions of people across the country who are suffering from it can
Little did he know.
Operation Warp Speed.
Well, look,
He'd
he's
be
the
using it
president of the United
himself.
States. These doctors, he has the best team of doctors surrounding him and making decisions for him. They do not want anything to happen to the president, neither do any of us.
Stranger than fiction.
They're going to make sure they take good care of him. They're not going to let him leave Walter Reed unless he is healthy enough to go. And they also have staff there at the White House. As we've talked about, they have a facility there if he does need extra care, but he hasn't had a fever since Friday. So if he leaves today, that's 3 days without a fever.
Look, we thought the debate was going to be a defining moment of this election in 2020. Then this happened, and this is going to be the defining moment of 2020. I imagine the president's recovery could be the defining moment, let alone the second debate and the impactful Wednesday debate.
He's going to be
big picture,
bigger and better than ever.
For everyone out there who thinks
He
this
beats the
election's
COVID.
over either way, it was October 7th when the Billy Bush tape, Access Hollywood tape, came out that changed everything last time, and they thought the president should actually just drop out of the race. You know who's wanted him to?
Well, you got to bring up the Billy Bush tape.
And by the time November 7th came around, he was president of the United States.
Well, Brian, think about this. The debate seems like a month ago.
Absolutely.
You know, that was the big story last week, and then going into the weekend, it all changed.
And you know,
and Steve, I like your idea on the messaging. You could show strength and experience too.
Well, and ultimately, Joe Biden over the last 6 months has tried to continually make it about COVID. The debate has been about COVID. And with the president now having COVID, he's got a unique point of view. It will be interesting to hear the president's messaging once he...
You bet your bottom dollar, you got it.
Apparently she's changing her plans for the debate on Wednesday. She had a handful of Trump zingers apparently and was going to attack him on the pandemic. Now she's looking to add more sensitivity.
Right. She could use them next week. Maybe.
All right, let's hand it over to Jillian. She has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
Good morning. Let's begin with this. Portland police arrest a man accused of shattering the window of a patrol car and pepper spraying an officer inside. John Russell was caught and arrested 6 blocks from the attack. Police collected window-breaking tools, pepper spray, and a laser pointer inside Russell's car.
No bad news from Portland.
Assaulting a public safety officer and aggravated harassment.
Unbelievable.
The wildfires in California hitting a grim milestone. More than 4 million acres have been torched in the record-setting year. This is an area larger than the state of Connecticut. The previous report from 2018 saw more than 1.6 million acres burned.
We're burning over here in
More
California.
than 8,200 wildfires have broken out. At least 31 people have died. The